Well, I'm going to try to shoot a little bit of an update. I don't have much battery left on this thing. It hasn't been on the charger long enough, but have got a few things done. I got my gas tank mounted and my fuel lines ran and the battery box mounted, and I grounded the block right here and ran a new cable and drilled into the frame and mounted that, so that's grounded to the frame. And then the cable, a big 1-gauge cable, comes off of my starter and goes down through the frame. And also the fuel line worked out real well because it goes inside the frame, inside the tube, and then it comes out and goes up under this rail here and just along this bottom of this brace, and then a short hose. It's a metal line all the way through from the tank to the front, and then a short hose on each end. There's a little bit of a hose right here, only about 10 inches or so, and all the fuel lines are double clamped on both ends, front and back. And I got my battery box mounted back here, and that turned out pretty good. I got it sitting in a metal box. This plastic box sits in a metal box that I built and mounted on there, and I have a short ground cable that comes over here, and I ground this off with a grinder and made it nice and clean, so I've got a really nice good ground there. Got my cables ran, and I still have to do a little bit of tying up these cables and getting them so they don't they're not just flopping around there. And that runs into the frame, and gas tank is mounted. Got a nice snubber on there, so that's not going anywhere. And I'll sit down here and put my little floorboard in the bed of the truck, and that's how that goes. And I thought that was appropriate. There's a gas can, gonna haul an old gas can in the back of the can. What happens, that flips up, and then there's my fill spout right there for the gas tank, and you put your gas in there and then flip it back down. And I'm gonna put a little latch on there so that it doesn't do that while I'm going down the road, because that would drive me crazy. And anyway, that's my little trick that I did today. So one of the things I'm going to do is move this water pump. I'm going to go ahead and run this radiator for a little while, even though I'm thinking about putting one in the back. Right now I just want to go down the road in this thing. So in the interest of getting it mobile, I'm going to go ahead and run this radiator for a while. Move this water pump down. It's sitting up there and it's real ugly sticking up in the air like that, so I'm going to get some flex hose, and move this thing and put that water pump way down low and kind of out of sight over here on the right hand side. There's my little temporary puke tank there on the radiator, little Phillips 66 oil can. Thought that was kind of cool. And exhaust temporary, of course. But I needed to get on there just to get some back pressure and try to get this thing kind of lined out and running. So I didn't want to run it underneath this steering box and through a hole right there and right up in front of this firewall. And I really like that, but I emailed State Patrol today, and they said no, you can't do that. It has to come out past this window, somewhere behind this window. It can't be up in front anywhere. So I'm probably going to run it along the bottom here and maybe have it dump out right in front of this tire. I could run it up the back of the cab, but everybody and their dog and their pet coon runs them up the back of the cab, and I just wanted to be a little bit different. But I don't know, I might split the exhaust and run it all the way to the back. Straight pipes or something. 6-cylinders sound pretty good when they're split exhaust. So, well, I lost my battery, so now I'm dragging this extension cord around. I don't know how well that's going to work, but I did want to show you one more thing. What I'm working on now, my next project, is I'm hanging these pedals. I'm redesigning my whole pedal system, and now I have these hanging pedals in here. You can actually get your feet on those. It's kind of nice, where you couldn't reach those others. They were too far up under the dash. after I lowered the body down and shortened them, and then you had no leverage. So I am going to move this pedal pad part over here because I've got a lot of room between these pedals, too much. So I'm going to move that over to this side, and then that'll give me room to put a little foot throttle in there. And I found a cable throttle on that donor truck out there that's going to work real well, I think. And this deal here, I may have to move that master cylinder, and if I do, oh well, that's just part of the deal. So, but I need to get it up closer. Here's the pedal that was in the original, and you know, I built this bracket to come around and push this plunger into the master cylinder and all that. And but what I need to do is move that master cylinder up so it sits closer to this pivot point, so you've got some leverage. You need the long part out on your foot pedal, and the short part where you got leverage to push this plunger. So this plunger needs to be up close to this pivot point, and that'll give you leverage to push the brakes out. This is a great idea. It just didn't work. I mean, the operation was a success, but the patient died. So anyway, I had to redesign those pedals anyway, because you just couldn't get your feet on them up under there. So that's going to be a lot nicer to have some hanging pedals in there. And I'll move that brake pedal over to the left so I've got room for a foot throttle. And I don't know, I guess that's about it. I don't know, I may put a universal in that steering post and tilt that steering wheel up some and get it kind of out of the way so you got a little bit more leg room. And let's see, I talked about putting the exhaust out. So, oh, well, there is one more thing. If I don't lose my cord here. Just one little thing going. I'm gonna flip the ignition switch on here and hit the starter button. Start it one more time. Starts pretty good, don't you? Can't hardly get your hand off that starter quick enough. I heard it pop a little bit when I give it throttle there, and it's still cold. This thing is so cold. I mean, it's just cold-blooded. And I've got to hook up my throttle over there to the heat riser, and that'll help that some. That'll warm that carburetor up a little bit. And anyway, it's running pretty good. Got rid of some of the issues and seems to be okay. It's got still a lot to do. I got to run all this wiring, move this ground, and put it down here out of sight, and put my switches inside. All this temporary stuff that I have set up, gauges. Yeah, it just goes on and on, but it's all fun. So, there's a little update on the truck. Got a few things done. Gas tank mounted, fuel lines ran, battery mounted, battery cables set up and run. Got the truck running pretty good, and of course I got to do that exhaust again now. But anyway, thanks for watching. 1932 Chevrolet Confederate pickup.